G'day all, Benny Reese West. Going to have a look at silver in this video. So same format, we'll brush over the US dollar. A couple of interesting things going on there. We'll have a look at silver, and then we'll have a look at one of the ETFs and see what we can see. So US dollar, I mean, like I said, I like to keep in mind what's going on in the US dollar because it's got a bearing on what's happening in the precious metals. So I think what we can see here at the moment, and this is obviously the dollar index, it's a little bit different because it's mainly against the euro and the yen, but it is a good proxy for what the sort of strength is. So look, there's a lot going on here, I think, especially this week as we've pushed back, as the market starts to get through its head. Some might say, well, I would say through its thick skull, that we're not cutting rates in 2 months ago. They're just not coming at the rate that everyone sort of wants them to come. So look, I think the toing and froing there is having an effect, but we looked at this, right, that we've come back here and we've tested. And what is interesting here is when we look at this whole move, okay, what we've almost got going on here, not quite, don't expect perfection, but it's pretty close to a one-to-one move, okay, in the dollar index. So it's almost like this is the first realization that the cycle's over, the swing back, and now we're going to start doing that coming into, we're not going there in July 24, put it that way. But the point being is that overall, this looks like the US dollar, to me, is still getting ready to slide away, okay, as the rate cuts move closer and closer into view. But the danger at the moment is that they just are not going to happen in the time frame that everyone's looking at. So with that being said, let's just have a look at what's happening up close, because I think if you didn't watch the gold video that I just did, I'll just point this out to you because it's kind of interesting. So this is where we've just got back to this week. Okay, we tapped straight back in. So we had the first measured move here, okay, of this peak and of this low, where we came right back to the 61.8 right to target. Okay, and now we've got the same thing. Okay, so the point here and the thing with TA, I think, is you sort of just got to remove the noise of noisy commentators saying, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. Who knows? But I just look at what price is doing and what price is telling me. This still looks bearish. Okay, even though we had two measured move swings up here. Okay, so let's clean this off a bit. Okay, so you know that 61.8 is there, but we had this measured move here where we went up, we came down, came to target, okay, and then so that we moved the pivot to the bottom, and where was the next pivot on the top there? We came down, we retraced, went to target, lined up with the 61.8 the other way. Okay, so everything's sort of lined up there. But what have we done here as well? We've got to consider we've got this retracement zone on the way back down to consider. Okay, so for us to truly break through this, you're just going to have a look at the eye on what the commentary from the talking heads is going to be. But to really bust through here, we're going to need the rate cut talk to come back up again. Otherwise, the measured move play is still on, which isn't good for gold. Okay, that would be the next one. Pardon me. That would be the next big one, because the smaller ones in here have broken. That would be the next big one. But if it gets back through here, then it looks like it's going to just resume this little bearish trend that it's in. Okay, well, I didn't want to spend too much time on the US dollar. This is not a video about the US dollar, but the other side of the measurement of value of silver is the US dollar, so we've got to just consider it. So consider it considered. Now, interesting, right? So here we are on the daily, and look where we've come right back to, and this is just classic, right? So we had these highs in here that we knew about, and what have we done? I mean, we kind of just failed away from it here, but this is classic. This is just 101. Okay, so I'll just clean this up because I just demonstrated that, so you know what that level's about. You should know it anyway, but like I said, 101, old resistance, and good resistance becoming new support. And this is fine. This is no problem at all. This is what you want to see, in my opinion. You want to see it come back and test the old zone from the other side, because the more it holds, the more times it's sort of tested like that. Actually, you probably only want to test it once or twice at the most. The more times it tests it, the more likely it's to go through. But I think just as it sits, this is good. This is kind of how you'd want the script to play out. All right, and even getting back below there, having a little probe below, I don't think that's a problem. Okay, that's not an issue. Now we've looked at this before, and I've explained the reasons why I'm coming off this pivot and not that one. Even though, yes, you could say you're forcing it so that it all makes it look pretty, and that's fair enough. True. Maybe it did come off this one, but I'm just taking that one because this one broke. So we got to target, right? We got to target through the week. We knew that, so we had a big run. So this still remains the overall play, okay? And because we got a pretty nice daily double top up there, right? So that would play into the idea that we can just probe down here, and then we'll make up our mind what we're going to do. But that just even coming back to test into this is okay. It's just because it moves back below the breakout level doesn't mean that it's going to crap its pants. It just means it's going to just test it. You can't expect to buy breakouts and just have it go on forever. Every time you try to buy a breakout, you've got to expect there's an attempt to make it a fail, because the failed breakout is such a good setup for a lot of traders that they're just always looking for it, always trying to force it, trying to force out the weaker hands that have bought the breakout. I don't buy breakouts. This looks like a much better time to buy to me. This looks like a good setup. Okay, where you've got the retest, okay? But, of course, anytime you're going to buy any of the retest of a breakout, you've just got to make a decision about where you're going to stop out. So I'll leave that up to you to decide where you're going to stop out, because you've got to manage your money the way that you see fit, okay? So let's just look at this now. So, what are we sort of looking at? I mean, you can see here, this is a bit of a good example where the trend terminated into a range, and now the range is broken down somewhat. So this was not a great range, because if anything, it wedged, right? So as we come in here, as the market became indecisive, so what have we really got going on here? Where we had sort of just a little bit of a falter there. We sort of tried to hang in, and we just have sort of just moved away. Okay, so we tightened up, we failed, and now we're just crapping sideways here as we move back into test that overall area. Okay, and I just note, obviously here you've got this area of structure there, which would probably, in fact, if I actually just took this back, what was the one that we were going off? I think it was that one. Yeah, you can see how that all just ties in again. Okay, so yeah, look at all that. That's pretty good. So and that's coming off that one. You get the point, right? That looks like a good area just below the level. So what's that? That's 29.30, 29.80, somewhere around there. That probably might be a bit of a chance to have a crack at it. So I wouldn't suggest leaving a bid there. I would just suggest maybe alarm that area up, and if it gets into here and it starts to prove that it's holding, okay, well, maybe you'll have a crack. Where's your stop? Maybe down here, maybe down here. I don't know. You decide where you want to stop out. Okay, but that looks like an area that would attract, certainly for me, that would attract some interest. So just to finish this off in the short term, I mean, we talked about this as well, right? The free bars outside the Keltner is a big warning. Always dangerous to go short, because you could have shorted any of these candles and got smashed, but it's just, to me, it doesn't mean necessarily short it. It just means be very careful about going long, because it's getting very, very hot, and so it proved. Okay, so now we've corrected down here like this. Is there I wouldn't really call that any sort of measured move action through there, but now is there a little bit of an Elliott case once, and sort of flat 2 coming down for 3 or 4 or 5? No, I don't know about that. I think that's probably reaching, trying to make a pattern out of that. I would just suggest looking at this, okay, range, trend, range. Let's just see which way it goes from here. Okay, so maybe you'll just mark off the top of this, and maybe just mark off the bottom of this, and then just see which way price decides to go from here. Does it start doing some sort of Wyckoff styled accumulation with a spring, and that might be the time to buy? It might just sneak outside those Keltners, and that'll be the time to buy. Or is it going to be like some sort of redistribution where you get the up thrust and then we come down? So they're questions that remain to be seen. But my view on silver just here in the short term coming into next week is the same as gold. I'm just very neutral because I just think the US dollar, there's a few tailwinds for it to strengthen, I think. So I'm staying a bit aware, but I'll just be on the lookout for the classic markers that the market wants to try to pivot. Okay, so I'm not seeing them just here and now, but certainly down into this zone, especially if we got free bars outside the Keltner anywhere down here, I'd be getting interested. I'd be getting interested along because my overall view remains bullish, but that might be more on this sort of time frame. Okay, I still think we're headed higher into these sort of areas up here at 34 and even further on. But you can even see here the weekly got outside the Keltners, so that's we might have a couple of weeks of just coming back. So that's just what we've got to be alert for, I would suggest, in silver as we sit here and now. Okay, so we'll just finish off here with the Global X Silver Miners ETF, and this looks a bit more constructive from where we were. So this is kind of interesting because it's bucking the trend a bit. So just to recap, the big area that we look like we're set to test is coming in up here, just above sort of $37. So we are not there yet, of course, but as we come in here and look at this, we know I've just marked off those levels. So what we've actually managed to do here is just bust away. Okay, so we've maintained this trend going up, and this all looks pretty rosy, I would suggest, at this point. Even when I come down here to a 4-hour chart from where we bogged down here, like I can't even find one good retracement. Like we sort of everything we've come up, we've busted through. So this is the last sort of pivot, just at the bottom here, and as we sort of chase it up, no, we missed out there, only just, but we missed out. And now I'm just still thinking, okay, well, that as we had this little bit of structure through here, that just remains sort of the area. And we're on a 4-hour chart here, so that remains the area that I'd be interested in. And we still can't get it. So that it's kind of, when I see a market that's just swinging like that, it's kind of just showing even more resilience. The fact that it can't reach back to the retracement zone means it's just there is a bit of underlying strength there. But this has been a good run, there's no doubt, and it is just moving a bit against the grain of what silver itself is doing. But hey, if it's holding up, it's holding up. So I think just this is probably another good one to switch to a line chart. I think you just you just look at what it's doing. It's just moving up, and this is okay. Okay. I would suggest that this is only a problem if it gets below, this lower pivot, and it's not. It's still a fair way off that. So, I mean, this has probably gone a little bit deeper now, but it's actually let's just switch this back to candles real quick. This is the bottom of that pivot, and we're just sitting on the 61.8. So, the market might be playing off this pivot now because the algos haven't been able to find any decent retracement, and they're coming off that. Okay, so that and 101. You guys know what you're doing, right? You don't need me to point out that just how all that retracement lines up right on top of that structure. Well, pardon me, like that. And look at that. Let's get this precise. I mean that is a very, very precise touch of the 61.8. Let me just get that. Pardon me. Let me get that right on top of that. Okay, so I don't want to be accused of being anything. So, not that anyone accuses me. Thank you very much. But let's be precise about this, because the thing about the software is the software is precise. So you can see that. And so where are we? We just missed it. Okay, But the point remains, okay, that remains the area. So, there's every reason to think that coming into next week that this will continue to just do its thing as we come up. And once we get up there, then I'd be having a serious think about it. So, look, like I said, a little bit iffy on this one only because it is bucking the trend. But that, the fact that this is doing what it's doing might, argue well for next week. So, we've seen what the US dollar's just sort of done here to finish off the week. Will we get some more weakness next week? Well, we'll see. So, look, I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I will see you next time. Bye for now.